And as Britt just reported, authorities say the father and son who carried out the Bondi Beach Hanukkah massacre were motivated by ISIS. Separately over the weekend, 2 American soldiers were ambushed by an ISIS gunman in Syria. Let's bring in author and extremism expert Robin Wright for more analysis. Robin, thanks so much for joining us. How prevalent is the threat of ISIS in Australia, in Sydney, and globally?
Well, ISIS lost its physical caliphate in Iraq and Syria by 2019, but ISIS still has a group of followers across at least 5 continents. And many of them have acted in lone wolf attacks, as we saw in Sydney with the father and son. But we've seen ISIS attacks in Europe and the United States as well. And this is reflecting a trend that goes back a half century. Extremism is not just about among Muslims, but it is true that Muslim minority communities, that Islam is the only political alternative for them. We see that in Hamas and Hezbollah in Lebanon, because they don't feel like there are other political representatives. But the danger is that without a lot of their grievances being addressed, you're going to see ISIS and other militant factions able to attract followers, whether in isolated attacks or larger attacks, I think, for the foreseeable future.
There was great celebration in Mosul in 2017, as you know, when ISIS fell. Has the threat of ISIS been underestimated, would you say, since then?
I think so. And I was in Mosul when it fell in 2017 and in eastern Syria when it fell in 2019. And ISIS has continued to attack not just American forces, but also taken officials in both countries hostage for ransom, engaged in assassinations, in kind of attacks on official installations, police stations, and so forth. So, it doesn't make the headlines anymore, but it is still a threat, even less than the ISIS caliphate was, 5 years ago.
As you've written, extremist groups don't ever truly die. How can their threat be minimized?
Well, this is, again, the challenge of having governments in place who represent all of the people. This is, solving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is providing for Shiites in Lebanon. It's protecting the kind of religious minorities. But as I said, this is not just among Muslims. What was so interesting in Sydney is that the hero of taking out one of the extremists was a Syrian-born Muslim, which reflects the fact that, the outside world should not look at every Muslim as a threat.
What would you say? You talked initially about the goals or the ideals of ISIS. What is it that they would like to see happen?
Well, ISIS clearly sought a global caliphate. It really thought that it could create a different era, a different ideology in the world, and it was short-lived in terms of its territorial claim, but as an idea, it remains out there and still dangerous.
Robin Wright, author of Rock the Casbah, Rage and Rebellion Across the Islamic World, we thank you so much for your expertise.
Thank you.